In the rush of everyday life, people rarely give themselves permission to be still. The world constantly tells us that movement means progress, that productivity equals value, and that slowing down is a sign of weakness. From the moment we wake up, we are bombarded with noise, messages on phones, endless notifications, demands from work, responsibilities at home, and the unspoken pressure to always be doing something. In this flood of motion and noise, it becomes difficult to hear ourselves. It becomes nearly impossible to understand what we truly feel, what we truly need, and what direction we should truly take. This is why stillness is so powerful. It is not an absence of activity, it is the presence of clarity. It is a return to the center of who we are, a pause that allows us to separate the essential from the unnecessary. Stillness is not about sitting silently and doing nothing for the sake of laziness. It is a conscious choice to step away from chaos in order to see more clearly. Imagine a pond that has been disturbed by stones. The water ripples, mud rises, and nothing beneath the surface can be seen. But when the pond is left undisturbed, when stillness is allowed, the water becomes clear and everything underneath is visible again. In the same way, when the mind is constantly disturbed by noise, tasks, and distractions, it becomes cloudy. Decisions feel confusing, problems feel overwhelming, and direction feels lost. But when we allow ourselves to be still, the mind clears. We begin to see answers that were hidden, solutions that were buried, and paths that were always there but blurred by the ripples of busyness. The greatest ideas and the deepest realizations rarely come in the middle of constant activity. They arrive in moments of stillness, while sitting quietly, walking in nature, or simply breathing deeply in silence. When the mind slows down, creativity awakens. When distractions fall away, wisdom rises. Stillness is the soil in which clarity grows. Without it, we are like seeds scattered on concrete, trying to sprout in places where growth cannot happen. With it, we are like seeds planted in fertile ground, ready to bloom into their full potential. So many people live their lives in a state of reaction rather than intention. They wake up and immediately react to messages, react to problems, react to demands, and end the day feeling drained, as if they spent every moment putting out fires without ever moving toward what truly matters. Stillness interrupts this cycle. It creates space between stimulus and response, between demand and decision. In that space, we regain control. We stop reacting blindly and start responding wisely. We stop running endlessly and start walking with purpose. Stillness also brings a deeper understanding of ourselves. Many people go through life not truly knowing who they are because they never pause long enough to listen to their inner voice. They drown in the voices of others, what society expects, what friends say, what family demands, and they forget their own truth. But when we embrace stillness, even for a few moments each day, we reconnect with that inner voice. We hear the quiet whisper of intuition, the gentle guidance of conscience, the subtle reminder of dreams we once had but buried under busyness. In stillness, we remember ourselves. There is also a healing power in stillness. Stress, anxiety, and worry thrive in noise and chaos, but they lose their grip in silence. When the mind is constantly racing, the body follows, producing tension, fatigue, and restlessness. But when we allow stillness, the body relaxes, the heart rate slows, and the mind begins to release the weight it was carrying. It is like placing down a heavy load you didn't realize you were holding. Stillness is a medicine, one that cannot be bought but can be chosen. It reminds us that we do not need to carry everything all the time, that it is safe to rest, that clarity often comes not by doing more, but by being still. Many people are afraid of stillness because it feels unfamiliar. In silence, they fear facing their own thoughts, their own insecurities, their own questions, but those very thoughts are the ones that hold the answers they have been seeking. Avoiding stillness is like avoiding a mirror because you are afraid of what you might see. But when you dare to look, you discover not only your flaws, but also your beauty, your strength, your truth. Stillness is the mirror of the soul, reflecting who you really are beneath the layers of noise and distraction. Consider how often mistakes are made simply because of haste. Words spoken too quickly, decisions made under pressure, actions taken without thought. These moments often bring regret. Stillness prevents this. It gives us time to pause before we speak, to think before we act, to breathe before we decide. It slows the rush and allows wisdom to step in. Stillness is not weakness. It is strength under control. It is the ability to hold back the impulse and choose with clarity rather than chaos. In relationships, stillness also has power. In a conversation, being still enough to truly listen can transform understanding. Most people listen only to reply, not to understand, because their minds are busy with what they want to say next. But when you give stillness to a moment, when you pause and really hear the other person, trust deepens, connection strengthens, and conflicts dissolve. Stillness is a gift you give not only to yourself but to others, because it shows presence, patience, and care. Stillness is also essential for growth. Without moments of rest, no progress can be sustained. Even nature teaches this truth. Fields are left fallow to regain fertility. Trees shed leaves to prepare for new growth. Seasons of stillness are not wasted. They are preparation for abundance. In the same way, when you allow yourself stillness, you prepare for growth that cannot happen in constant motion. You recharge, refocus, and return with greater strength. Far from being wasted time, stillness is the most productive time because it ensures that the energy you later spend is focused and purposeful. Clarity born from stillness also protects us from distractions. In the absence of clarity, everything looks important and we scatter our efforts everywhere. But when we are clear, we recognize what truly deserves our time. We say no with confidence. We pursue goals with precision. We conserve our energy for what matters most. Without stillness, life becomes cluttered with unnecessary commitments. With stillness, life becomes focused on what is meaningful. Technology has made stillness harder than ever. With constant notifications, endless scrolling, and the pressure to always be connected, silence feels unnatural. But the more connected we are externally, the more disconnected we often become internally. This is why choosing stillness is more important now than at any time before. It is a rebellion against the noise, a declaration that your mind deserves peace. Even a few minutes of stillness each day can shift your entire perspective, reminding you that your value is not defined by constant activity, but by conscious clarity. Stillness is not about escaping the world. It is about engaging with it more deeply. When you return from stillness, you bring clarity into your actions, presence into your relationships, and wisdom into your decisions. You no longer live on autopilot, rushing without direction. You live intentionally, fully aware of where you are going and why. This awareness transforms ordinary days into meaningful journeys. The truth is, clarity cannot be forced by effort alone. It is born in stillness. It is in the silence between the notes that music finds its beauty. It is in the pause between breaths that peace enters. It is in the stillness of the heart that clarity shines brightest. Life is often spent either replaying what has already happened or rehearsing what has not yet come. Minds wander backward into moments of regret, loss, or mistakes, and forward into fears, worries, and endless what-ifs. In this constant drift between the past and the future, the present moment is lost, and with it, the essence of life itself. Presence is the art of living fully in the now, of giving undivided attention to what is in front of us, and of realizing that fulfillment cannot be found anywhere else but here. To live without presence is to live only in fragments, but to live with presence is to live in wholeness. Every moment that passes is a piece of life that will never return. Yet so often, these moments slip by unnoticed because attention is elsewhere. People eat meals without tasting them, walk through beautiful places without seeing them, sit with loved ones without truly hearing them, and chase dreams without enjoying the journey. The habit of distraction robs life of its richness. But when presence is practiced, even the simplest experiences transform into something extraordinary. A quiet conversation becomes deeply meaningful, a sunrise becomes breathtaking, a single breath becomes a miracle. Presence adds depth to everything. The human mind is restless by nature. Thoughts jump from one thing to another, often pulling attention away from what matters most. It is like trying to read a book while 10 other voices are speaking at once. This is why presence requires practice. It is a discipline of bringing attention back to this moment again and again. Each time the mind wanders, presence is the gentle act of returning, of reminding oneself that life is happening now, not yesterday, not tomorrow. Fulfillment is often mistaken as something external, a goal achieved, a possession gained, a recognition received. Yet countless people achieve, acquire, and receive and still feel empty. The reason is simple. They were never present along the way, and they are not present even when the achievement comes. They miss the richness of the journey by focusing only on the destination. True fulfillment is not a reward at the end. It is woven into the fabric of every moment we live with presence. When walking toward a dream, the steps are just as valuable as the arrival. When working toward a goal, the process is just as meaningful as the result. When presence fills the journey, fulfillment is constant, not conditional. Presence also strengthens relationships. In a world where attention is often divided between conversations and screens, being fully present with another person is a rare and powerful gift. When someone is listened to with full attention, without distraction, they feel seen and valued in ways that words alone cannot provide. Presence communicates love, respect, and care more than any grand gesture could. It deepens connections and builds trust. Relationships do not grow through time alone, they grow through the quality of attention given. Presence transforms time spent together into memories that endure. Presence also transforms the way challenges are faced. When difficulties arise, the mind often magnifies them by pulling in the weight of the past or projecting fears into the future. But when attention is grounded in the present, problems are approached one step at a time. Instead of being crushed under the imagined burden of everything at once, the focus shifts to what can be done now. This approach not only reduces anxiety, but also empowers action. Even the biggest challenges can be faced with strength when presence keeps the mind anchored in the current moment. Many people believe that multitasking is the sign of efficiency, but in truth, it scatters energy and weakens focus. Presence is the opposite of multitasking. It is the act of giving full attention to one thing at a time. When energy is concentrated, work becomes more effective, creativity flows more freely, and satisfaction increases. Presence turns ordinary work into purposeful effort because the whole self is invested in it. Rather than rushing through tasks to reach the end, presence brings meaning to the act itself. Presence also invites gratitude. When attention is in the present, it naturally notices the blessings already here. A smile, a warm meal, a safe place to rest, a moment of laughter. These are often overlooked when the mind is elsewhere, but presence highlights them, allowing appreciation to grow. Gratitude does not come from having more, it comes from being aware of what already is. This awareness brings joy that cannot be shaken by circumstance, because it is rooted not in what is missing, but in what is present. The practice of presence is not only for peaceful moments, it is even more valuable in moments of difficulty. When pain, anger, or sadness arises, the instinct is often to escape into distraction or bury emotions under future plans. But presence teaches the courage to stay, to feel fully, to acknowledge emotions without judgment. This does not mean dwelling endlessly on pain, but rather facing it honestly in the moment it exists. When feelings are allowed to be felt, they lose their grip faster, and healing begins sooner. Avoiding the present only prolongs suffering, but embracing it leads to release. Children are natural teachers of presence. They experience the world with fresh eyes, finding wonder in simple things like the sound of rain or the shape of clouds. They immerse themselves completely in play, without worrying about what came before or what is to come. Adults often lose this capacity as responsibilities grow, but the ability remains within. Choosing presence is a return to that childlike wonder, a decision to see life not as a checklist, but as a living experience. Presence also connects us to ourselves. In moments of silence and stillness, when attention is directed inward, the noise of external expectations fades, and the truth of inner desires becomes clear. Presence reveals what truly matters to the heart, beyond what the world says should matter. This connection to self provides direction that cannot be shaken by outside influence. It guides choices and actions with authenticity. The absence of presence creates regret. Many people look back at times they wished they had appreciated more. The family dinner they rushed through, the loved one they did not listen to, the opportunities they overlooked because they were too focused on something else. Regret is born when presence is missing, when the moment that could have been cherished was wasted in distraction. By practicing presence now, regret later is reduced, because each moment is lived fully as it comes. There is also freedom in presence. Worries about the future create chains of fear, while guilt about the past creates chains of sorrow. Presence breaks these chains, reminding us that life is lived only one moment at a time. The mind may try to carry the weight of a lifetime, but the body and spirit only ever need to carry this single moment. By focusing on now, the load becomes lighter, the path becomes clearer, and freedom becomes real. Technology, while useful, often pulls presence away. Endless scrolling through updates, comparing lives with others, and constantly checking notifications steals attention from what is right in front of us. Presence requires intention to step back, to put aside distractions, and to truly engage with reality instead of virtual illusions. It is not about rejecting technology entirely, but about choosing when to use it and when to disconnect, reclaiming attention as a sacred resource not to be wasted. Fulfillment is not something that appears suddenly in the future, once certain conditions are met. It is cultivated in every moment that is fully lived. Even in the midst of challenges, presence brings meaning. Even in the simplest routines, presence brings joy. Even in times of uncertainty, presence brings peace. When the mind is fully here, life feels complete, not because everything is perfect, but because attention is no longer divided between what is and what is not. Presence is the art of truly living. It is the awareness that life is not measured only by years, but by the quality of moments. It is the understanding that this very moment, however ordinary it may seem, holds the fullness of life. To embrace presence is to embrace fulfillment itself, because fulfillment is not found somewhere else, sometime else, or in something else. It is found here in the now, waiting to be noticed, waiting to be lived. Life is never a straight road. It bends, it twists, it rises, it falls, and at times it feels as though the ground beneath the feet has given way completely. No one passes through life without storms. There are moments when dreams break, when loved ones are lost, when failure comes after relentless effort, when rejection stings, and when the heart feels too heavy to carry forward. These moments test the core of a person, stripping away illusions of control and demanding something deeper than surface strength. That something deeper is inner strength, the quiet, steady resilience that allows a person to rise when everything around them has fallen. It is not loud, it is not boastful, and it is not about pretending that pain does not exist. It is about facing life's hardest blows and choosing to continue to endure and to grow despite them. Inner strength is not built in comfort. It is forged in adversity, in the times when there seems to be no way forward, yet steps are taken anyway. Each hardship that does not break us has the potential to shape us into someone stronger, wiser, and more unshakable. It is in these struggles that resilience is born, teaching us that no challenge is permanent, no wound is beyond healing, and no fall is final unless we choose not to rise again. There is a difference between external strength and inner strength. External strength may come from power, resources, or status, but these can all be taken away in an instant. Inner strength, however, comes from within, and it cannot be stolen. It is the ability to hold on when the world says to let go, to hope when circumstances look hopeless, and to believe in one's ability to endure even when the evidence suggests otherwise. This kind of strength is invisible yet undeniable. It is what allows people to walk through fire and emerge not untouched, but unbroken. When life becomes heavy, the mind often whispers reasons to stop. It says the pain is too much, the goal is too far, the failure is too humiliating. But inner strength answers with a different voice. It says that pain is temporary, that distance can be traveled one step at a time, that failure is not the end, but a lesson. Inner strength is not about silencing fear or doubt, but about refusing to be controlled by them. It acknowledges their presence yet chooses courage anyway. Resilience is not about never falling, it is about always rising. Every successful journey is filled with failures along the way. Every strong person has stories of weakness, doubt, and despair. What sets them apart is not that they never struggled, but that they refused to stay down. Resilience is the repeated act of rising, again and again, even when the body aches and the heart resists. With each rise, strength multiplies. With each step forward, resilience deepens. Inner strength is also about patience. The world glorifies quick results and instant success, but true growth often takes time, healing takes time, building takes time. Rebuilding after loss takes time. Inner strength is the patience to endure the waiting, to stay steady through the slow progress, and to trust that every effort, however small, is moving closer to renewal. It is the ability to hold on during the in-between, when answers are unclear and outcomes uncertain, and yet remain faithful to the journey. There is a kind of dignity in resilience. When life strikes hard, it is easy to become bitter, to give in to anger, or to abandon hope. But inner strength chooses dignity. It chooses to keep character intact, to maintain kindness in the face of cruelty, to remain compassionate even when treated with injustice. Strength is not just about survival, it is about surviving with integrity. It is about refusing to let hardship turn the heart cold or the soul small. Resilience also means adapting. Life rarely unfolds as expected. Plans collapse, opportunities vanish, people change, and circumstances shift. Inner strength is the flexibility to bend without breaking, to adjust without giving up. It is the wisdom to know when to fight for something and when to release it, when to persist and when to redirect. Adaptation is not weakness, it is intelligence. A tree that does not bend in a storm will snap, but one that sways with the wind survives. Resilience is this same principle applied to life. Another dimension of inner strength is faith, not necessarily in a religious sense, but in the simple belief that the future holds possibility. Without faith, setbacks feel permanent and obstacles feel insurmountable. With faith, even the darkest tunnel is recognized as having an end. Even the deepest wound is believed to heal. Even the hardest fall is seen as a setup for rising. Inner strength feeds on faith, and faith feeds on strength. Together they create resilience that no hardship can fully extinguish. Inner strength is not about walking alone. Sometimes resilience is found not only within but also in the willingness to reach out for help, to lean on others, and to accept support when needed. True strength does not always mean carrying everything alone. It sometimes means acknowledging limitations and finding strength in community. Asking for help does not diminish resilience, it enhances it, because it keeps the spirit moving forward rather than stuck in isolation. There will always be voices of doubt, both external and internal. People may question abilities, criticize choices, or predict failure. The mind may echo these doubts with its own fears, but inner strength is the shield that protects against these voices. It is the decision to define oneself not by the noise outside, but by the conviction inside. It is the recognition that worth is not determined by others' opinions, but by one's own perseverance. Resilience is living in alignment with this truth. When losses come, grief can feel unbearable. When failures pile up, self-belief can crumble. When rejection repeats, discouragement can spread like poison. These are the moments where resilience is tested most deeply. But inner strength transforms these experiences into fuel rather than shackles. Loss becomes a reminder of love once shared. Failure becomes proof of courage to try. Rejection becomes redirection towards something better. Inner strength reframes pain, giving it meaning rather than allowing it to define identity. Resilience is also found in small victories. It is not always about grand acts of courage, but often about quiet persistence. The decision to get out of bed when depression tempts otherwise. The choice to take another step when fatigue sets in. The willingness to smile once more after tears. These small victories accumulate, building a reservoir of strength that prepares for greater challenges. Every act of resilience, no matter how small, is a declaration of strength. The world celebrates visible achievements, but it often overlooks the invisible battles fought within. No one sees the nights spent crying, the moments of self-doubt, the silent prayers, the private struggles. Yet these unseen battles are where resilience is truly built. Every time despair is resisted, every time persistence is chosen, every time hope is held onto, inner strength grows. The world may not applaud it, but the soul knows it, and it is this hidden resilience that sustains life when external validation is absent. Resilience is not about pretending to be unbreakable. It is about being breakable and still choosing to heal. It is about allowing scars to form not as marks of weakness, but as symbols of survival. Scars tell stories of battles faced and endured. They remind us that we have been through pain before and emerged on the other side. Inner strength honors these scars, not with shame but with pride, knowing they are proof of resilience. At its core, inner strength is about choice, the choice to rise when staying down seems easier, the choice to believe when doubt feels louder, the choice to continue when quitting feels tempting, the choice to see light even in darkness. Resilience is built through countless choices made in the face of hardship, choices that say, I will not give up, I will not be defeated, I will endure. These choices, repeated over time, form a spirit that is unshakable. Every challenge carries the potential to either weaken or strengthen. Inner strength is the decision to let challenges strengthen. It is the understanding that life will never be without storms, but storms do not define the sky. They pass and the sun returns. Inner strength holds on to this truth, standing firm through the rain, knowing it cannot last forever. This knowledge creates resilience, a power that makes a person unstoppable not because life is easy, but because they are unbreakable.